I'm going to start with my first set of questions for Muskan and Avni, and I'm going to speak in Hindi. So, Avni और मुस्कान, आप भोपाल से हो
जी।
और भोपाल में जो आपके एक्सपीरियंसेस हैं उसके बारे में आप क्या कह सकते हो? जैसे कि एक जगह अपनी में आप एक मतलब जो कैरेक्टर्स है वो एक घर ढूंढने की कोशिश करते हैं एंड उनकी जो संघर्ष है वो फिल्म उसके बारे में बात करती है। तो आपकी लाइफ भोपाल में उस कहानी से कितनी मिलती जुलती है? तो मुस्कान जी पहले आपसे चालू करते हैं।
सभी मुंबईकर को मेरा सादर जय भीम।
जय भीम।
जय भीम। जय भीम। आवाज नहीं आई। जय भीम।
दिल से बोलो यार।
आई एम टोटल अम्बेडकर राइट्स एंड मैं संविधान के साथ ही चलती हूँ और संविधान से ही मैं बातें करती हूँ। आज उसी संविधान की देन है कि मैं आपके सामने हूँ। सो आपने मेरा एक्सपीरियंस पूछा, मेरी लाइफ जानना चाहिए भोपाल के बारे में। भोपाल बहुत अच्छी सिटी है, कैपिटल सिटी है मध्य प्रदेश भोपाल, बहुत अच्छा शहर है। लेकिन ट्रांस LGBT कम्युनिटी की जो जर्नी है भोपाल में बहुत डिफ़िकल्ट है जीना हमारे लिए। मेरा अनुभव, मेरा जीवन, क्योंकि मैं वहाँ पैदा हुई हूँ, वहाँ मैंने शिक्षा प्राप्त की है, वहाँ मैंने जीवन को जिया है। लेकिन वो जो जीवन मैंने जिया है 30 साल 25 साल का, वो सहम के, डर के और छुप दीजिए। समाज, सोसाइटी, परिवार, रिलेटिव, मोहल्ला, पड़ोस, तो वो जो डर है कुछ सालों में मैंने ख़त्म किया। मैं हमसफ़र का हिस्सा रही हूँ, 6 साल मैं आउटरीच वर्कर रही हूँ। मेरी फ्रेंड काउंसलर थी, थोड़ा सा अपने आप को बॉन्ड किया, ताकत को वहाँ से बिल्ड करना शुरू किया, एक तरह की टीम से मिली। और जो पिक्चर ने मुझे आज दिया है, आज उस पिक्चर की देन है, एक तारा की देन है, कलेक्टिव की देन है कि मैं आज आपके सामने हूँ। और वो ताकत मिली है इस पिक्चर की वजह से। इस पिक्चर को लेके मैं यूरोप गई, यूरोप में अवार्ड लेके आई, स्पेशल इनवाइट थे हम। तो मेरे लिए बहुत तकलीफ थी वो जर्नी, और आज भी है। मेरे जैसे और ट्रांस हैं। देखो, मैं शरीर से जो भी हूँ, शरीर से मैं एक मर्द का शरीर हूँ, लेकिन मेरा दिमाग, मेरे दिल, मेरी सोच एक महिला की है। तो आई एम ट्रांस पर्सन वुमन, मैं एक ट्रांस महिला हूँ। और मुझे कोई शर्म नहीं है, मुझे कोई डिफ़िकल्ट नहीं है सोचने में कि मैं क्या बोलूँगी या क्या सोचूंगी, लोग क्या कहेंगे। तो वो अब मैंने वो छोड़ दिया है। मैं खुद को जीना चाहती हूँ, खुद के लिए जीना चाहती हूँ। और मेरे जैसी और ट्रांस महिलाएं हैं, और जो LGBT कम्युनिटी के बंदे जो जीवन को जी रहे हैं। हमारे मध्य प्रदेश में भोपाल एक सिटी, बहुत अच्छी सिटी है, पढ़े लिखे लोग हैं, ग्रेजुएशन है, बहुत अच्छी सिटी, बहुत रिच लोग हैं। लेकिन सोच आज भी वही है, छोटी सोच है। हमें देख के लोगों का मुंह टेढ़ा कर लेना, या पीठ घुमा लेना, या डिफरेंट डायलॉग्स। आपको मालूम है कमेटी के लिए, LGBT कमेटी हो, ट्रांस पर्सन हो, उसके लिए कैसे कैसे लोग शब्द का इस्तेमाल करते हैं। तो वो जीवन बहुत कठिन रहा, बहुत कठिन रहा। मर के जिया, लड़के जिया। सबसे पहले ट्रांस के जीवन में एक महत्वपूर्ण चीज़ है कि हमें खुद से लड़के खुद को जीतना होता है। और जब हम खुद से लड़के खुद को जी लेते हैं या जीत लेते हैं, तब हम समाज से भी लड़ सकते हैं। तो मैंने पहले खुद से लड़ा, खुद को मजबूत किया। आज मेरे में इतनी ताकत है कि मैं किसी भी मंच पे जाके अपने आप को साबित कर सकती हूँ। तो वो जीवन था जो पिछले 25 सालों का, बहुत डिफ़िकल्ट था, बहुत दर्दनाक था। पारिवारिक हमारा समाज 3 प्रकार का होता है। पहला समाज मेरे माँ बाप, सेकंड समाज मेरे भाई बहन, थर्ड समाज ये शो कॉल्ड सोसाइटी, जो पूरे टाइम हमारी तरफ गिद्ध की तरह आंखें गड़ाए रहती है। मेरे पहनने पे, मेरे काजल पे, मेरी लिपस्टिक पे, मेरी कान के बुंदे पे, या मेरे हाथ के नेल पेंट पे, या मेरे बाल बड़े होने पे, जो सवाल खड़ा करती कि एक लड़का लेके एक लड़के के रूप ये लड़का ऐसा क्यों है, इसकी चाल में ऐसी लचक क्यों है, ये नेल पेंट क्यों लगाता है, ये मस्करा क्यों लगाता है, काजल क्यों वाई, तुम्हें क्या दिक्कत है, हु आर यू, आपको किसने ये अधिकार। मेरा जीवन है, मुझे कुदरत ने जैसा बनाया मैं वैसी हूँ, इस प्रकृति ने मुझे जैसा गढ़ा मैं वैसी हूँ। और मेरा दिल गवारा करता है सब चीज़ करने के, मुझे अच्छा लगता है। अब आपको ये सवाल करने का हक किसने दिया? और वो भी कैसे? पीठ पीछे सवाल करते हैं, डायरेक्टली आइज टू आइज नहीं करते ना, पीठ पीछे सवाल करते हैं, कमेंट्स करते हैं ग्रुप में खड़े होकर, चौराहों पे खड़े होकर, छक्का है, अब बहुत सारे गलत शब्द का इस्तेमाल करते हैं। मेरे बहुत सारे भाई बहन यहाँ बैठे हैं, बहुत सारे पढ़े लिखे बुद्धिजीवी लोग यहाँ बैठे हैं, समझ सकते हैं मेरी वाणी को, मेरे शब्द को, मैं इन शब्दों को चुरा रही हूँ, उन शब्द को आप समझ सकते हैं कि मैं बोलना क्या चाह रही हूँ, किन शब्दों से हमारा उच्चारण किया जाता है, किन शब्दों से हमारे को पुकारा जाता। तो वो पीड़ा रही है, लेकिन वो पीड़ा, वो जितना दोगे उससे मैं उतना अपने आप को मजबूत करती हूँ। जितना आप मुझे नेगेटिव, मेरी तरह आप नेगेटिव सोचोगे, मुझे लगता है कि वो मेरे लिए एक वो है, बाण है, ताकत है, न्यूट्रिशन है, कि आप जितना गंदा, जितना बुरा आप मेरे लिए सोच सकते हो, बोल सकते हो, उससे मुझे और आपसे लड़ने की ताकत और हिम्मत मिलती है। तो वो जो जर्नी भोपाल की रही, मध्य प्रदेश की रही, बहुत डिफ़िकल्ट, बहुत ज़्यादा कंडीशन डाउन रही। परिवार से हरिशमेंट मिला, भाइयों से हरिशमेंट मिला, बहनों से हरिशमेंट मिला, सोसाइटी हरिशमेंट तो अभी भी है, वो ज़िंदगी भर रहेगा, उसका तो कोई दिक्कत। समाज है, आप किस किस को बदलोगे, लेकिन सोच है, एक नई सोच के साथ निकलें कि कभी ना कभी आपकी सोच को भी बदलेंगे हम, इंशाल्लाह ज़रूर होगा, और खुद पे विश्वास करती हूँ।
Thank you, Muskan ji. Muskan shared her struggle about being a part of Bhopal and living there and facing struggles, first at her personal level, and then at the family level, and then at the society level. And while the journey has been difficult, she hopes for things to change, and she says she will fight till the change comes through. Muskan, thanks so much for trusting us with your story and for sharing, those beautiful एग्जाम्पल्स। अवनी, मैं आप पे थोड़ा बाद में आती हूँ, मैं पहले ओपेरा जी से उनका जर्नी पूछूंगी। यस, सो ओपेरा, ओके, आर यू सेट? Okay, I caught you unaware.
Ever
Didn't I?
ready, yes.
Perfect. So, Opera, tell us a little bit about Singapore. We've had Section 377A, which, every time I looked at the newspapers and I'm like, they have an A more than us. So I think it was 2018 when the law finally, was thrown out. And tell us a little bit about your life before then and after that.
So Singapore and India has a colonial past of the British, of course. And we shared many of the civil laws inherited from the British. And I think in India, it evolved to 377, the Penal Code. And in Singapore, we had gross acts of indecency. And we have 377, 377A, and 377B. I think 377 and 377B was like carnal intercourse with like corpses and animals, and in between, sandwiched between those two, it's between men, which is very weird. So you can't have sex with like animals, and you can't have sex with corpses, and you also can't have sex with men if you're a man yourself. And thankfully, that was repealed last year. It took a long while, and we are still celebrating that. We are still in the nascency, in the infancy of those celebrations, and it's Pride Month this year. We are also gearing towards what's next in Singapore, and I think that's in Pink Dot, which is our pride in Singapore, and you saw in the film as well. It is celebrating all families, and because there is this dichotomy that the media wants to portray between traditional families, like nuclear families of a husband, a wife, and a kid, as opposed to LGBT people, as if LGBT people can't have families. Exactly. So the narrative that we want to push, and we want to let everyone know that LGBT people have families, regardless whether it's biological, chosen, as long as there's someone who is loving you, and that is family. Yeah.
Thanks, Oprah. Yeah, I mean, I've always wondered, why is it a gay marriage? It's a marriage. Why is it a gay family? It's a family. And I'm glad for the progresses that have happened since then. I'll now come to Avani. One of the reasons why I kind of switched the narrative a bit is because we've had someone have a word in Hindi. I thought it would be a good idea to, switch the conversation. a little bit, right? अवनी, अभी आपके जर्नी के बारे में थोड़ा सा बात करेंगे। मुस्कान जी ने बताया कि भोपाल में उनकी जो जर्नी थी, उनको संघर्ष फेस करनी पड़ी। उनके संघर्षों के बारे में सुना। मैं आपसे ये सुनना चाहूँगी कि क्या आपको लगता है बदलाव आ रहा है?
बोला जाए तो बदलाव तो आ रहा है, बट इतना बदलाव नहीं आ रहा जितना आना चाहिए, जितना हम लोगों को उम्मीद है समाज से, वो बदलाव अभी नहीं आया है। क्योंकि अभी भी इतनी चीज़ों को फेस करना पड़ता है, जगह जगह हर जगह हम लोग को फाइट करना पड़ती है, घर ढूंढने के लिए, कहीं जॉब करने के लिए। जैसे कि मैंने अभी
आपको थोड़ा माइक ऊपर उठा, पीछे तक आवाज़ जानी चाहिए।
जैसे कि मैंने अभी
Good,
रिसेंट में मेरे को लोन चाहिए था। मैं लोन के लिए इतना भटकी हूँ, बैंकों में गई, बट वो लोगों ने साफ मना कर दिया कि ट्रांस के लिए अभी ऐसी कोई स्कीम नहीं है।
अच्छा, अच्छा।
हमारे एमपी में अभी इतने बुरे हालात हैं ट्रांस के लिए, उनके लिए हाउसिंग के लिए, जॉब के लिए। हम लोगों का हाउसिंग के लिए फॉर्म भी भरा, तो अभी तक कुछ नहीं हुआ। वो कह लगे आप लोन कराओ। लोन के लिए हम लोग गए तो बैंक वालों ने मना कर दिया कि ट्रांस के लिए ऐसी कोई स्कीम ही नहीं है।
तो जो आपकी फिल्म में कहानी बताई गई थी,
फिल्म
कहीं ना
में जो
कहीं
कहानी बताई गई है वो मेरी रियल कहानी है, वो कोई कहानी बनाई हुई नहीं है। मैं 5 साल हो गए मुझे घर छोड़े हुए। वो जब 5 साल पहले मैंने जब घर ढूंढना शुरू किया था, तो वो सारी चीज़ें इस फिल्म में दिखाई गई हैं जो मेरे साथ रियल में हुआ है।
and yet you are here. I, kudos to your strength, and hopefully चीज़ें आगे बढ़ेगी. We will keep fighting, and let's hope that things turn better. Yeah.
उम्मीद करेंगे कि लोग फिल्म को देखें, समझें और हमें आगे बढ़ने का अवसर दें, ताकि ये सब चीज़ों का सामना हम लोगों को ना करना पड़े।
Thanks so much, Avnishi. Yeah.
थैंक यू।
Sunil, I think it was 2007 when Nepal was among the first countries in the subcontinent to decriminalize LGBTQ relationships and offer equal recognition. I think it's been a while since the verdict came out. What has been the journey that Nepal has had in the field of LGBTQ rights since then? What are the changes that you were hoping to see and probably, are still on the way? And how are you guys going about it? So give us that story.
Yeah, thank you very much. Really honored to be here sharing panel with all these really charged and powerful, inspirational activists. Nepal has quite a journey. The LGBTI rights movement started late 2000, early 2001, when the Maoist insurgency was at peak. A lot of violence, and people were leaving their rural areas because of the insurgency, mostly impacting more rural areas and lack of security forces there. So a lot of people were fleeing to the cities. Then rural massacre happened in 2001. The same year, Blue Diamond Society was registered. Then 2003, the king, then the brother became the king, and he took absolute power, dissolving parliament, and imposed a state of emergency. So a lot of police forces, security forces in the streets, and there was the time very difficult, because we also have métis and third genders and transgenders, mostly visible, and other feminine gay men were frequently arrested. There was almost, 3-4 days every week, I had to go to the police station, bail them out. The arrest was so much. Then 2006, the populist movement happened in Nepal. We also took to the streets, and then the king backed off and reinstated the parliament. The Maoists also signed the peace accord with the other political parties and the government then. Then there was the interim government was reinstated. Then we thought this new government will listen, because they were also struggling for democracy, but they didn't. So we decided to take them to the court, because they were calling us in the streets when they needed us, but completely ignoring once they had the power. So we took them to the court, myself and 4 others, and then we demanded to end all this violence, state-sponsored violence, to amend all the discriminatory laws, and court gave fantastic decision and become the first country to recognize more than 2 genders. So it ordered the government to give passport and citizenship ID for third genders. So become the first country in a modern world. Then it also ordered the government to scrap or amend all discriminatory laws against LGBTI that existed during those old country code we had then. That was lagging behind, still not implemented. And the third one was also set up a committee, study impact of if the government allows the same-sex marriage, what impact it would have into the society, and recommend government for a same-sex marriage. The committee set up, they did a study, it took 5 years, and then very thorough report, and it recommended full marriage to allow. That also hasn't implemented yet. So I was then, in 2008, I was got elected as a member of parliament, and I didn't know it created a history once I heard the media reporting that I was first in Asia. So that was quite a journey, being part of it was not just a regular parliament, it was a constituent assembly, very historic, writing a new constitution for your country that time. So I stayed there for the whole tenure, and that's how the Nepal constitution is one of the 10 in the world that guarantees equality and non-discrimination for sexual and gender minority communities. That's the word we use in constitution, sexual and gender minority communities. Yeah, but the implementation is lagging. Otherwise, the policy in the paper is a fantastic journey. There's some improvement, the sensitization, the education, the young generation particularly very, supportive. A lot of people coming out. That's a very good thing. And there are 35 plus organizations in a country like Nepal, which is remarkable. We celebrate Gai Jatra festival, it's like a pride festival, which was going on since 600 years, where young men were, brought out by a family affected by their loved one dying or passing away that year. They bring out procession, and young boy is doing a cross-dressing that day. So it's a ready-made festival since since 600 years or so. So we do like that, and now there are, then many, the individuals who wanted to register their marriage have gone to the court, and court repeatedly gave good decision, suggestion, but it has not been implemented into by the parliament. So that's a bit of dilemma we have. There's a few more cases, and then now the community is strategizing, looking at how important to be included into the policy making level. So we have, I think, for next 4 or 5 years, a big wave of LGBTI getting into the politics, so active inclusion into the political system. That project, we're doing it now.
I'm going to ask you another question. It's just that Nepal's journey has been so inspiring for all of us, on the other side of the border, from far away. A lot of things that happen, especially with Nepal's constitution being, among the only 10 constitutions in the world that recognize LGBTQ plus identities. Sunil, what, as per you, has been your biggest struggle and challenge?
The biggest challenge?
Yes.
We are very motivated from within ourselves, from our soul, I think. I remember the quote we had, when I decided to come out and, talk about it. Usually people try to convince everyone to their immediate families and then take it slowly. But we have this saying, that as soon as you realize the thing you're catching is snake, drop it immediately. So the guilt, the shame, as soon as you realize it's not supposed to be like that, leave that guilt and shame of being who you are. So that's the starting point for me. So I didn't try to convince everyone. Look, and then, I have dropped the snake that I have. I'm taking it as a symbolic example. Do not hate the snake, they have right to live. But once you realize that it's not supposed to be guilt or shame, it's supposed to be celebration of who you are. That's the starting point for you. And then from that moment, then I said, look, I am this and that, and I'm going to organize, and then perhaps if I can walk, others also can follow, creating a path like that. So it's with this simple thought that you know, if you light a lamp, you know, the lights generates from it, it benefits not only you, it's so many others. And then other lamp also can be, you know, lit in after that. That's how I think we started this journey. So the inspiration coming from within, and then also, you know, if you look at the, I started looking at the matriarchal tradition in Nepal pretty early because I was into meditation and things like that. So contrary to patriarchal, you know, religious system, the matriarchy, the Tantra tradition particularly, is very liberal on sexuality, gender, celebrating body, etc. If you have visited, you know, Kathmandu, there's a little Ganesh temple, is the old part of Kathmandu. And then Ganesh means Gana Isha, means a clan, leader of a clan, you can interpret like that. And surrounded by 6 genders, you know, not just 2 or 3 now, it's just 6 different ones. So that liberates you, you know, in terms of even choices in the spectrum of gender, it gives you so much liberty. So, and then sexuality is also equally fluid in the tantric tradition, the matriarchal system. And then, but it takes the body so positively. It takes your sexual expression behavior so positively and suggests that you can perform it as a ritual to worship of your idol. So it takes a whole, you know, completely different dynamics and dimension towards the spirituality or even towards the God if you believe, or goddess, whoever you believe. So all this, you know, shame, guilt, and then, you know, demonizing women's body, queer body, it's all patriarchic. So abandon that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Sunil. And now, Miguel. I think the more I know about you, the more inspired I feel. And I can't imagine living in exile for 37 years. You know, I simply cannot, you know, fathom the kind of struggle and the challenges that you might have faced living away from your home, you know, in another place with your identity as a challenge. So tell us about that if you could, like, you know, what was your childhood like and those 37 years?
Well, it's not easy to talk about all my childhood in a few minutes, but I'll try to summarize it as much as I can. The only way for me to live my sexuality the way I wanted and to feel okay with myself at the beginning of the 80s, which is when I left Lebanon, it was leaving Lebanon because all the Arab cultures with an S, because we usually, when we talk about the Arab world, we talk about 400 million people who think the same and breathe the same way, etc., which is not true. But anyway, Lebanon being one maybe of the most liberal or most advanced countries in the Arab world, still is very, and until now, very conservative. You need to add also complexity to the country. It's an extremely small country. When I left Lebanon, the population was 3 million. Now it's 4.5 million inhabitants. It's very, very small, with 18 different religious communities. I mean, all different denominations of Christianity and all different denominations of Islam are present in Lebanon. This added also another layer of complexity. But the only thing, all the 18 communities, basically Christians and Muslims hated each other passionately. So me being from a Christian family, I was supposed to hate Muslims as much as I could. But the only thing that brought Christians and Muslims together, and still is bringing Christians and Muslims together, the only thing is the hatred against the LGBTQ community. So, so now, for example, in the past 4 years, we've been having a lot of political turmoil in Lebanon. A lot of the population is changing, especially the young people. There was a beginning of a sort of a revolution that was completely faded out by COVID. But so the political power that was in place at that time in order to find someone to demonize instead of being demonized themselves. They went back to the LGBTQ community now, and in 2022 there were many problems and raids against the gay community, which is extremely thriving, and I discovered now that it is massive all over the place. I mean, Lebanon also, I have to say, I spent most of my life. I left Lebanon when I was 20, and I started this crazy adventure of making a film about myself and about me being a gay person leaving Lebanon 8 years ago. And, but before, I was so convinced that I had to erase my past. I had to erase any Arabness in me. I had to become as European as I could. And I even tried to change my last name because I did not want to have anything, absolutely anything to do with Lebanon. So I was completely detached from the country. And when I went back, and then I realized that the only way to get rid of all this weight and all this trauma was looking at it in the face and going back to the country and trying to do something to change the situation, or maybe to empower people, LGBTQ people who live not only in Lebanon and in the Arab world. And this happened, and I'm very, very, very happy for this happening. But still, I mean, there are many studies carried out. There were two main studies carried out by the Pew Research Center, for example, one in 2012 and another one in 2019, that still show that a good portion of the Lebanese population, Christians and Muslims, dislike homosexuality and do not want it to be a part, and they believe that it is not a part of the Lebanese culture, which is ridiculous. The most thriving LGBTQ community, Lebanese communities, are outside Lebanon. For example, I live in Barcelona now, and in the past 4 years, we've had many hundreds and hundreds of young Lebanese people moving to Barcelona, and 90% of them are LGBTQ. And the LGBTQ Lebanese community in Barcelona is amazing. In Montreal, it's beyond belief also. And actually, we owe Canada the first Arabic LGBTQ movement ever association created. It was registered in Canada. It's called HELM, and that was in 2006. So we owe Canada a lot, and Lebanese, Canadian LGBTQ people a lot. There's a very thriving also LGBTQ Lebanese community in France. You know, there are 3 times more Lebanese outside Lebanon than in Lebanon. There are 12 million Lebanese in the world and only 4 million in Lebanon. And thanks to them, the mentalities are changing. So the problem, more than laws and constitutions, etc., there is still a law, the Law 534 that you mentioned at the beginning, which is a very hysterical act that talks about actions against nature, sexual actions against nature, and you can put anything you want inside of it. So basically, the police many times and the authorities use this act to fight against LGBTQ people. And it's mainly to divert the attention of the Lebanese population. So we need a demon. The demon is not the political rotten and corrupt class that is robbing the country. The demons are the LGBTQ people who want just to have fun, you know. And by the way, if you ever make it to Lebanon, we have the best drag queen scene in the Mediterranean, beyond belief. It's gorgeous, it's fantastic. They're very colorful, fantastic, very, very imaginative also. So I went in my trajectory, to go back to me, I went from 30 years of complete denial to 8+ years now of facing back, of getting all this feedback from all these people, not only Lebanese, but many Arabs also would come to me because we've toured now 70 countries. I don't know how many countries with the film, won 6 prizes, etc. But it's not what's most important to me are not the prizes that we're winning or the TED Award. It's just the Arab LGBTQ people who come to me, who hug me and who show me so much love, because this was the first time that really we did it. The film that we made is a Lebanese film made by a Lebanese director with a Lebanese character, and it's not copying the West. It's just a Lebanese film speaking Arabic, speaking Lebanese Arabic, and explaining the situation in Lebanese Arabic. And this is what most Arabs, especially LGBTQ Arabs, really love the most, and it really resonates a lot because it is not a copy of a Hollywood LGBTQ movie. It is a purely Middle Eastern Lebanese movie done by Lebanese people and speaking in Lebanese.
Thanks. I think you make a very important point here with language being such a common identifier when you, and even with Sunil discussing and sharing about how local customs create a bigger impact. A film that speaks in your language, a community person who speaks in your language probably, is a very strong influencer of change. I'm going to come back to you with another question that I have, but I'm not going to, keep these wonderful ladies here waiting. So, आप दोनों के लिए मेरा एक सवाल है, right? अगर समझो आप कल उठते हो, right? तो सबसे पहले आप क्या चाहोगे अपने अधिकारों को लेके, अपनी लाइफ को लेके? ऐसा एक क्या चेंज आप अपने देश में, अपने घर में, अपने माहौल में देखना चाहते हो जिसकी वजह से आपको लगता है कि आपकी लाइफ थोड़ी सी और बेहतर हो जाए?
आपने कहा कि कल आप जब उठते हो तो क्या सोचते हो, क्या चाहते हो?
जी, बस एक ही चीज़, हाँ, आई विश आई कुड ऑफर मोर, बट
सबसे पहले उठते ही मुझे लगता है, और मुझे जो चाहिए, सपोर्टिंग माय पेरेंट्स, सपोर्टिंग माय बहन और भाई जो मेरा परिवार, सेकंड परिवार, और सपोर्ट उन सब लोगों का जो हमें बुरी नज़र से देखते। आप प्यार दो, प्यार लो, मुझे कुछ नहीं चाहिए, आपकी एक प्यारी सी मुस्कान सुबह उठते से मिल जाए तो मेरा दिन सफल हो जाएगा। तो मुझे सुबह उठते से बिगर कमेंट्स के, बिगर तानों के, बिगर किसी टिप्पणी के, एक प्यारी सी मुस्कान के साथ, मेरा नाम मुस्कान ही है, तो मुस्कान के साथ एक मुस्कुराहट मुझे दी जाए तो मेरे को लगता है मेरी ज़िंदगी सफल हो जाएगी, क्योंकि बस उसी की उम्मीद है कि हमें आपकी आँखों में, आपकी नज़रों में अपने लिए सम्मान चाहिए, प्यार चाहिए, इज्जत चाहिए, और कुछ नहीं चाहिए। ना आपकी धन, ना आपकी दौलत, ना आपकी ज़मीन जायदाद में आप हिस्सेदारी, सिर्फ प्यार, सिर्फ प्यार और प्यार।
She could have asked for $1 million. And yet, this is the impact that support, that love, that recognition, that respect has on all of our lives, that we are willing to put everything aside as long as we have that little recognition from our friends and family. And Muskan, thank you for reminding us of that. Avni ji, what about you? एक क्या चीज़ आप चाहोगे?
जब भी मैं सुबह उठती हूँ तो बस मुझे ये लगता है कि क्योंकि मैं अकेली रहती हूँ घर पे, अलग रहती हूँ परिवार से, तो सुबह उठती हूँ मैं तो यही सोचती हूँ कि काश कि मेरा परिवार मेरे साथ होता, तो उनके साथ में मैं गुड मॉर्निंग बोलती, उनके साथ रहती, हैप्पी रहती, और यही सोचती हूँ कि मेरा परिवार जिस दिन मेरे साथ हो जाएगा तो उस दिन मैं समाज को भी बदल सकूँगी।
थैंक यू अवनी।
अकेले रहना बहुत मुश्किल होता है, बस हम यही समझा सकते हैं कि मेरा परिवार मेरे साथ हो जाएगा तो मेरे इस समाज को बहुत अच्छे से समझा सकती हूँ।
थैंक यू, थैंक यू। आई थिंक फैमिली इज़ वेरी वेरी क्रिटिकल एंड आई होप योर ड्रीम कम्स ट्रू समडे।
मुझे बहुत साल पहले अलग कर दिया गया था परिवार से, क्योंकि मेरे कारण आस पड़ोस के लोग, परिवार के लोग मेरे भाई बहन उन लोगों ने सब ने मेरे से बात करना बंद कर दी और मेरे मॉम एंड डैड को कुछ भी बोलते थे कि आपका बेटा ऐसा है वैसा है, उन लोगों के साथ में रहता है, ये सब काम करता है। तो उनके चक्कर में मैंने अपनी फैमिली छोड़ दी और मैंने मेरी जो जर्नी रही है रूम की, घर ढूंढने की, वो इस फिल्म में दिखाया गया है। तो बस मैं यही चाहती हूँ कि जब भी मैं सुबह उठूँ तो उन सबको मैं चाहूँ, जो उन सब लोगों को मैं अपने पास चाहना चाहती हूँ, बस अपने माँ बाप को और अपने पेरेंट्स को।
Thank you, Avni. A slightly different question for you, Opera. I always happen to stun you. Yeah. So, with Singapore and with everything that's happening, where next? Like, not if you wake up tomorrow, but some years down the line, what sort of a future would you want for other LGBTQ individuals in your country?
I think the short and simple answer would be to have equality of rights for all queer individuals, for all LGBTQI individuals, not just in marriage equality, that also affects housing in Singapore, insurance policies. I think a lot of these themes and roadblocks are also faced worldwide. And I think the first step would be fighting for recognition of chosen families, of LGBTQ families, and then maybe marriage can be on the table. Because the ways Singapore's policies are passed are very drawn out, and they are, how to say, Singapore is the one party, almost like a one party system like China, but there is an opposition growing, and there is a growing youth movement who are more politically active to speak up for their own rights, and also to be allies to the community who are marginalized and discriminated against. So yeah, I think that's the next step. Yeah.
Thanks. And if you had one message for the straight people out there in Singapore,
Watch Baby Queen, because the the target audience was actually not really just LGBTQ audiences
Absolutely.
overseas, but also for it's actually quite palatable for the Singaporean audience. There's no nudity, sex, drugs. It's R21, rated the highest rating in Singapore because I kissed my boyfriend in it, and not because I'm having like hardcore whatever else. But it's actually, if I don't know, if it's shown in the US or in a more westernized country that's more liberal, Canada, for example, it will be a PG-13 movie, I guess. Yeah, but it's just because it's homosexuality is a theme in it. That's why it's rated R21. But to the streets there, watch Baby Queen.
thank you. Watch Baby Queen. I hope everyone here does. Awesome. Sunil, my question for you would be, with all of the people in Nepal who still do not support LGBTQ rights, what message would you have for them, or what is the one thing that you would want them to know with regard to their stance?
For those who still do not accept people who are different, then you are not a full human. Realize that you are also different from others, and then in so many aspects. So we are, considered better from other species because we have the ability to embrace the differences, and that makes us human. So my, request to others or appeal to those who hate anybody because there's the differences, whether it's sexuality, gender, or caste, or race, or any other thing, that it makes you less of human. The humanity and their hearts should open up to the differences, because the world is not uniform. It has diversities. So why you suffer your own soul, causing pain to your soul because you're constantly thinking, judging others to put them down? That's very sick mentality. So if you realize that, then embracing others and accepting differences, diversity is very healthy to yourself as well. So that's the message. I don't even think this is a message. It's very healthy tips
It's
for
a
them.
philosophy. Thanks, Sunil. And of course, Miguel, you'll have to be the showstopper. Sorry, Oprah. But then, since we're almost out of time, we really, really need you to, like, share. What message would you have for children who are like you in Lebanon right now? And I hate to say keep it short, but then Juhi's like, so yeah, so
Well,
let me hear
for people who, for people in Lebanon in general, I mean, the only thing that I can tell them is to relax. They're scared of us. They should not be scared of us. We don't bite. And if we ever do bite, they should relax and enjoy. But, period. It's that easy. We're not monsters. Monsters are people who rob, people who kill, people who provoke pain. Monsters are not people who just love.
I agree.
Period. And this is, and I believe that the young generation I will talk about the Arab world, but also in all the rest of the world. Religion is fine, and if they want to believe in whoever God they want to believe in, that's fine. But there are human beings, and human beings, they have emotions, and they have feelings, and they should respect that above all.
Thank you so much. The tip is to relax. And I think that's what I'm going to do now at the end of this amazing panel with so many beautiful insights. We've got spots for 3 Q&A. I think I see this gentleman right here.
This has been very interesting. I have questions for 2 members of the panel. I'm afraid I don't know your names, not all of them. I have a question for Mr. Lebanon and for Ms. Singapore. I know that I have seen at least 2 queer films from Lebanon. One of them is obviously by a Lebanese Christian. It's about a bunch of guys. One of them drowns, and he is put out on a slab, and his friends surround the slab. It is very much like Christ in the tomb. I just wonder, I don't remember the name of the film, I don't remember the director. And a couple
Death of a Virgin, I think.
Okay, fine. And there was also a very short, not a very short film, but a short film in this festival a few years ago about, I think, a Syrian refugee, which kind of indicates that Syria is more repressive than Lebanon. He's working on construction, goes up on a crane and dangles from the crane as a drag queen. Yeah.
And he's gorgeous. Yeah, I know him personally. He's, yeah, so there is, I was saying that there's a thriving now LGBTQ community, and there's a lot of people who are involved in arts, etc., who are doing many, many things. And actually, the more we produce films like that, because I believe in the power of cinema, and this was how I was convinced, to do the film, because I was writing. Actually, the film was based on things that I had written in French. A book can have an impact, but the cinema can have a bigger impact. And the fact that I don't know how to write in modern standard Arabic, plus it's not my language. My mother tongue is not Arabic, it's Lebanese, which is different. But this is a whole different problem. The fact that I am speaking in my vernacular language and speaking about those things naturally, this really had a very profound effect on Arab-speaking people who are listening to all those things. Because many times people would come to me and say, okay, in English we can take it, but not in Arabic. Why? Why not in Arabic? Yeah, and so the more films we have, the better it is. And thank God there is a very, very, very creative LGBTQ Lebanese community and Syrian community also. Palestinians also are doing a lot of things. So yes, there's a lot. In Tunisia also, there's a lot going on.
Has anyone done any research on Lebanese cinema? Is there a book or a history at all that has been written
A quote of
of the history of Lebanese
the
queer
research
cinema?
that was done about the Lebanese, how do they feel about homosexuality?
Well, films, yes.
It's the Pew Research Center. So if you go, I'm sure if you type, go to Google, Wikipedia, Pew Research Center, LGBTQ, Lebanon, you will find it.
I see. Okay, fine.
Definitely. There were 2 studies as far as I know.
And for Miss Singapore, you have such a wonderful voice, and it carries so well. I would love to hear you sing. I would like to know, do you sing?
My name is Opera, but I'm just appropriating that genre of music. I can sing, but you have to pay me and for a private performance. No, I'm kidding.
I still would like to hear you sing.
सभी पैनलिस्ट को मेरा जय भीम और रंगीला सलाम। मैं एक कमेंट कहना चाहूँगा कि हमारे अभी कशिश फिल्म फेस्टिवल के इतने कॉरपोरेट स्पॉन्सर्स हैं, स्पेशली एक्सिस बैंक है, तो बैंक लोन ट्रांसजेंडर लोगों को मिलने के लिए कोई दिक्कत नहीं होनी चाहिए। हमें संघर्ष करना चाहिए कि ये आसान हो जाए और ये प्रॉब्लम नहीं होनी चाहिए। मेरा क्वेश्चन है कि जो आप अपने कहानी से आपने फिल्म बनाई है एक जगह अपनी, जो हम कल देखने वाले हैं, अभी आपके लिए ये फिल्म का कि क्या मायने रखते हैं? इसका इससे फिल्म से आपकी स्थिति में क्या चेंज आए हैं?
ये फिल्म मेरे लिए बहुत मायने रखती है और ये फिल्म मेरी पहली फिल्म है। मैंने कभी सोचा भी नहीं था कि कभी हम इस जगह आएंगे और ये सब काम करके लोगों को दिखाएंगे। और हम इस फिल्म से ये चाहते हैं कि लोगों का नज़रिया बदले, लोगों की सोच बदले और हम लोगों को भी आगे बढ़ने का अवसर दें ताकि हम भी इस समाज में कुछ करके दिखाएं और अपना हक पाकर रहें जो हमें चाहिए। एक जगह अपनी बनाना चाहते हैं।
अपनी ने बताया एक जगह अपनी, वो रियल फैक्ट है। एक जगह अपनी हर ट्रांस की ज़िंदगी में, LGBT कमेटी के क्यों या कोई भी हो, हमारी कमेटी के जितने भी बंदे की एक जगह अपनी पाने की तमन्ना ज़िंदगी भर है, क्योंकि वो एक जगह हमें मिल नहीं पाई। बस उसी की तलाश में इस पिक्चर में हमने बहुत सारे पात्र हैं, मेरे जो को एक्टर्स हैं, अपनी, आकाश, प्रीति, सैंडी, सोल्जर, सुमन, तितली, हमने इन सबको एक मोतियों को पुरो के एक माला बनाई है और वो माला को आपके सामने प्रस्तुत किया है पर्दे के जरिए। हमने अपने जीवन को आपके सामने रखा है, हमारी जर्नी किन हालातों से गुजरती है, किन तकलीफ़ों से सवेरा होता है और किन तकलीफ़ों के साथ हमारी सांझ होती है। तो ये पिक्चर आपको बहुत सारे पॉइंट्स हैं, इसमें बहुत सारी चीज़ें हैं, लेकिन जातिवाद, जेंडर हरेसमेंट, बहुत सब कुछ है। आपको पिक्चर देख के, एक फिल्म है, फिल्म बनाई थी और ये फिल्म सिर्फ फिल्म नहीं है, ये रियल स्टोरी है। मेरे जो जातिवाद दिखाया वो फैक्ट है, वो रियल है। जो हमने जेंडर हरेसमेंट दिखाया वो रियल है। हमने अपनी ज़िंदगी को आपके सामने रखा है कि हर ट्रांस की ज़िंदगी में ये तकलीफ़ें हैं और वो समाज को समझने की ज़रूरत है। समाज के नज़रियों को, उन लोगों को देखना है कि हमारी ज़िंदगी भी, हम भी उसी तरह बने। आप वो एक गाना सुना होगा, बहुत पहले एक पिक्चर बनी थी, बहुत पुरानी पिक्चर है, मैं भी इंसान हूँ आपकी तरह, जिसने आपको रचा अपने रूप से, मैं भी उसकी पहचान हूँ आपकी तरह। तो जिसने आपको रचा है मैं भी उसी की पहचान हूँ, मुझे भी उसी ने रचा है। बस मेरा तरीका रहने का कुछ और है, आपका तरीका, आप पेंट शर्ट में रहना पसंद करते हैं, मैं साड़ी सूट में रहना पसंद, वो मेरी मर्जी, वो मेरा दिमाग है ना, वो मेरी सोच है कि मैं एक ट्रांस महिला हूँ। तो आपको सोचना है, समाज को सोचना है, समाज के उन जिम्मेदार पदों पे बैठे लोगों को सोचना है कि मेरा भी उतना ही अधिकार है समाज में, मेरी भी उतनी ही जिम्मेदारी है समाज में जितनी आपकी है। जितना आपका हक है इस धरती पे, हिंदुस्तान की धरती पे, भारत की धरती पे, उतना ही हक मेरा भी है। तो बस आपको अपने नज़रियों को बदलना है। आप एक कदम चलोगे, मैं 10 कदम आपके साथ चलूँगी। बस आपको अपने नज़रियों को बदलना होगा।
थैंक यू मुस्कान जी, वेरी पावरफुल। एक कदम चलो, मैं 10 कदम चलूँगी। And with that powerful statement, I think we'd like to bring this panel discussion to a close. Juhi, do you want to come and take over? Thank you guys, you've been fabulous, and this has been an absolute honor and pleasure. And yep.
We also have some wonderful flowers for you. Can I just...